Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, Profiler here, and welcome. Welcome to an interesting show we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing it on the mystery of serial killers and why they need to kill to feel alive. Quite an oxymoron there. Killing to feel alive. Before I get started, many of you have asked us about possibly having a channel, a new channel. Not that we're going to give up our old channel on true crime, but a new channel focusing on mental health and addiction issues. So please let us know what you think about us having a new and separate channel, starting a new and separate channel on mental health issues and addiction issues. Because we're hearing a lot of that from you guys about focusing on mental health, and we're hearing an awful lot about different addictions, meth addiction being right now, along with heroin, on the top of the list. Okay, with that being said, let's take a look at what goes on. Why do serial killers kill? That's one reason, okay? That is, what's the main ingredient in that reason? And that is rage. They have this underlying rage, which becomes volcanic murderous rage, which we know. Now, the reason they need to have this dominance and power over another human being is because as children, they felt powerless. They were in relationships, they were brought up in extremely abusive families where they felt powerless. Now, this isn't for all serial killers, but it's definitely for the majority of serial killers. So if you grow up feeling powerless, that is one reason why you need to feel powerful and why you need to have this power and dominance, and in most cases, sexual dominance over another human being, and in most cases, it's a female. Okay? So this is at the root of this internalized volcanic rage that comes spewing out. And it really makes them feel good. They really get high from it. There's no question about it. We have to look at Charles Manson, coming from an extremely abusive home. As a baby, his mother sold him for a pitcher of beer at a bar. His uncle later went and retrieved him from the bartender that had taken him. When you look at John Wayne Gacy, grew up in an extremely abusive house with an extremely violent father, very abusive father who was consistently beating him. So again, here comes that internalized rage, and you can see where it came from, and the need to have power and control, because he was severely abused and had no power, no control over his life as a child. Also, we have to look at Henry Lee Lucas, again, growing up in an extremely abusive alcoholic family. Mother wanted a daughter instead of a boy, dressed him up as a little girl, sent him off to school. He told me this in person, by the way. And she even knocked his eye out with a club when he was younger, because he had done something wrong, and she wanted to penalize him for his behavior. So she pretty much beat him to a pulp and knocked his eye out. When I met him, he had a glass eye. And then, of course, we want to talk about Ted Bundy. Okay, and Ted Bundy growing up in a very, very violent, abusive family. And the other thing I want to point out, just in these four people, is something they have in common that you may not know about serial killers. And again, this is for the majority of serial killers, but not all serial killers, okay? Definitely for the majority of sexual predators, all right? And what's missing here is an attachment to their father. They do not have a relationship, a good relationship with their biological fathers. Think about this. We don't have Manson even knowing who his father was. We have John Wayne Gacy being totally detached from his father because his father hated him and beat him to a pulp every chance he got. We have Henry Lee Lucas, who wasn't sure who his father was, but the acting father that was there was drunk all the time and never had any use for him and really never protected him from his mother, who severely sexually and physically abused him in a number of different ways. Then, last but not least, we have Ted Bundy, who really never had a clue who his biological father was. So as you can see, with these four males, there's no connection at all to a father figure. Or there's an attachment or detachment. There's no attachment to a father figure, but there's a detachment from any kind of father figure. And that is what creates this underlying rage. And for the most part, when you do not have a connection with the specific gender parent, mother to daughter, father to son, and you can start to see a pattern here, and it's something we look for, where serial killers, for the majority of serial killers, do not have an attachment or closeness with any kind of father figure. Now, with that being said, I just want to throw out there, I'm wondering if this person of interest in the Delphi case has any kind of connection with his father. Because that's a telltale sign that we look for lots of times. Is there a connection? Is there an attachment to a father figure? Because if you don't have specific gender attachment, look out. I mean, there's going to be a lot of rage and anger in this person, in this predator, or pretty much in anybody that doesn't have a good connection with, their specific gender parent, whether it be mother or father. The other thing that I want to bring out is that when we look at the country today, and we know that attachment disorders are like all over the place, and we're seeing this epidemic of opioid abuse and opioid dependence throughout the country, which is causing this epidemic of attachment disorders going on around the country. And we know attachment disorders are primary in the vast majority of serial killers that creates the internalized anger and rage. We have to ask ourselves, are we growing serial killers in a very, very, very broad and quick fashion in this country? Are we going to see an onslaught of sociopaths and psychopaths, of murderous sociopaths and psychopaths that don't care about another human being coming in the not too far distant future? Because with this epidemic of opioid addiction, we are seeing the extremely abused children that have no attachment to their parents that are being left on the sidelines and put in foster homes or being raised by other relatives. And I think you can see it every night, as I see it on TV, how many of these children are so severely abused. Now, do we think for 1 second that a child that goes through such immense trauma, childhood trauma, of being physically or sexually abused and feels absolutely no love from their parents, is totally detached, is going to grow up and have a whole lot of feelings for other human beings? So it's something we have to look at right now, and we have to intervene right now. This is out of control. And if we're looking at the past, and we're looking at our history, and we're not going to change it, and we're looking at a history with Manson and Gacy and Lucas and Bundy, and see what their childhoods produced, And we're looking at a future where we're going to see a heck of a lot more of abused children who are going to grow up, that are going to be looking to have power and dominance over others, and who are going to be carrying a lot of internalized rage that's probably going to turn into volcanic rage for a majority of them. I'm not saying everybody that's abused is going to become a serial killer, but we certainly know that every serial killer has been pretty much abused. For the most part, again, can't say perfectly. So this is something I think we need to look at. And we have to look at this killing to feel alive. It's actually like an addiction. If you talk to an addict, you ask an addict, why are you using drugs? The addict's going to turn around and say, well, I want to feel good. Or actually, the addict may turn around and say, well, I want to get high. So let's bring it down. Well, okay, you want to get high. What does that mean to you? Well, it means I want to feel good. Why don't you feel good already? And a lot of addiction is self-medication. The medication, the internalized anger, and the other issues that they're feeling, the low self-esteem, the low self-worth, which causes them to be extremely critical of themselves and feel extremely low and not as good as other people. And this is how they walk around, and this builds up, and it needs to be medicated. And some people medicate it with booze, some people medicate it with meth, some people medicate it with heroin, and some people medicate it by going out and hunting and stalking and controlling and killing and having dominance over other human beings. Serial killing definitely is an addiction. And what we've got to do is we've got to intervene now on these many thousands and thousands of children that are being left out in the cold because their parents were so strung out on various drugs. And, they definitely don't feel connected or loved by their family. So, most importantly, I think that we have to look at this, we have to evaluate it and ask ourselves, what do we want to do about it? What are we going to do about it? We at Stock, John Kelly Profiler, we have to look at exactly what are we going to do? Are we going to try to intervene and create some type of prevention, so that we don't have to deal with this later on in life. And we don't have to deal with this kind of insanity and psychopathology down the line in the future. But anyway, I know I've had a lot to say, and I've been pontificating here, and I'm sorry about that, but it is what it is, and it gives us something to think about. So please give me your feelings. Let us know what you think. Do you want us to start a second channel, which is going to focus on mental health and addictions, or not? And as I said, we will continue with our regular and main channel, and we can't thank you enough for the support, the subscriptions, all the feedback, the comments. Please keep the comments coming. We love them. We love you guys for bringing us into your homes. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.